91.9 FM. Your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.
Before even time began, my life was in his hands. And he knows my name. He knows my every thought. And he sees each tear that fall, and he hears me when I call. I have a father. He calls me his own. He'll never leave me, no matter where I go. He knows my name. Sing it. He knows my name. He knows my every thought. He sees each tear that falls, and he hears me when I call. He knows your name, and he knows your name. Yes, he does. He knows your every thought. He sees each tear that falls, and he hears you when you call. He hears you when you call. Oh, he hears you when you call. Yes, he does. He hears you when you call. We serve a God who's the God of the past. He knows where you've been. He's the God of the present. He knows right where you are today. And he is the God of the future. He holds your future in his hands, and you can trust him. He hasn't forgotten you. He hasn't forsaken you. He knows your name. Yes, he does. He knows your name. He knows your every thought. And he sees each tear that falls. And he hears you when you call. He knows your name. He knows your name. Yes, he does.
What a comforting and assuring word that he knows your name. He understands every thought. He is with you, and that is your heavenly Father. Beloved, welcome to Z 101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio. And welcome to today's edition of Fathers and Family. brought to you by Frontier Fathers, a ministry to fathers, by fathers, and to fathers. My name is Pastor Gate, and I'm always here with the technician on duty, Emmanuel Kante. And we're bringing you this program. Welcome. On that beautiful note from Don Moen, we pattern ourselves after the example of our Heavenly Father. So, fathers and family. And this program comes your way every Sunday evening from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And so now, if you are listening, call somebody else to call somebody else that, hey, it's time to listen to the discourse on fatherhood. If you want to join us on the WhatsApp line, you can do so, and we will read your messages and your concerns. So if you want to join us via WhatsApp, the number is 0544. That is 0544 321019. 0544 321019. And if you want to call into the program, you may have to use the regular landline, and that is 0303. That is 0303 956641. 0303 956641. You can also join us via the social media, and the lines are, if you want to join us through, is it YouTube and TikTok, you can do so from Z Multimedia. And then, of course, if you want to do Facebook, X, or Instagram, that is ZFMGH. ZFMGH. If you do that, you will be able to join us. The program is Fathers and Family, and my name is Pastor Gate. Welcome. This is Z101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio. Okay, so for some time now, we've been dealing with the functions of fatherhood, or the responsibilities of fathers. Now, we've looked at a few of them. We started by looking at planning, how fathers should plan for their family. And the planning involves, first of all, becoming God's project, becoming a project for God, allowing God to work on you as a person, as a man, before you become a father. Allow God to work on you. Part of your planning, get to know who you are, where you are going, and why you are here on earth. Search for your own identity before you decide to bring someone else into this world. Okay, and then the next thing in the planning is, now you get yourself a wife. Don't just go spreading wild oats and around. Get yourself a wife. Take the bold step, the manly step. Become a husband. If you have a girlfriend already, then respect her, respect the family, go see the family, and perform whatever and make her your wife. So become a project for God, and then become a partner for your woman. And then finally, you can become a parent for your children. It's part of the planning stages. And then we also looked at fathers providing for their children. It's part of your responsibility. And then we saw that a father should provide, number one, the essentials of life. And then number 2, emotional support. And then number 3, exemplary leadership. So these are the things you provide for for your children, the essentials of life. And we listed the essentials of life as food, clothing, shelter, education, medication, and entertainment. Each of these is so important. These are non-negotiable things that a father should provide for the children. Food, clothing, shelter, education, medication, and entertainment. Okay, so these are the essentials of life. Beyond that, hey, if you want to provide other things, that is beautiful. Like trips and holidays and what have you, that's nice. That's if you can afford it. But even if you don't have to be wealthy to provide these essentials. And we talked about that the last time. And then, of course, you also provide emotional support, being there for the children. And when was the last time you hugged your child? When was the last time you hugged your child, your son or your daughter? And believe you me, it's something they will cherish from you, the father. Be there for them, give them hugs, give them pats on their backs, and let them know that, hey, daddy is there for you. And then, of course, you also provide exemplary leadership. Let them learn from you. Teach them with your own life. Teach them through your own examples. And then again, we learned that you would also have to protect your children. So you plan for the children, you provide for the children, and then you protect the children. That's what we looked at last week. And we saw that you should protect the children from self destruction. And then you also protect them from societal denigration, societal disgrace, societal bad examples. So protect them from self, protect them from society, and protect them from Satan. And this is a spiritual thing and a spiritual responsibility every father should engage in. One of the things we'll be talking about again would be to pray for the children, and that will be covered later in our discourse. Today we want to look at another one, and that is presiding over the children. So planning, providing, protecting, and today we're looking at presiding over the children. Presiding over the children. And that word preside is a verb, and the one who preside is a president. So you are the president of your home, and if you would please, well, let's make your wife the vice president, and they will agree. I mean, in Ghana, we have a man as a president and a woman as the vice president, and this beautiful thing can be replicated in the home, so that you, the man, are the president. In fact, that is the truth. Preside over your children. You know, by virtue of being a husband, you, the man, have a divine mandate to be the head of the union. This position is not earned. I mean, you don't have to be voted into it. It is just because you are the husband of the home and the father of the home. That is enough to make you the president of your home. It is an imputed position by God Himself. I mean, you are the head, not because you merited the position. It is not because you are wiser, richer, older, or anything. I mean, it's nothing you earned. The only reason you are the head is that you are the husband. That's all. And of course, I know women who are wiser, richer, older than their husbands, and who can equally lead the house. But you see, God knows what He's doing, or what He was doing when He said that the husband is the head of the house. And so, as the head of the house, that is your responsibility to preside. I mean, I have explained in this program that you are first of all a man, and then when you marry, you become a husband, and then when you have children, you become a father. So when children come into the union, and you have now become a father, your constituency now increases. Because when you were a man, you were on your own. When you became a husband, you had only one member in your constituency, and that is your wife. She's the only one who makes you a husband. And then when the children come in, your constituency increases, and then you are a father. And so you are expected to be the executive president of the family. And you should know that this placement or this responsibility is divine. So being a husband and a father makes this role more crucial. Your duties include managing the home and having full oversight over the affairs of the children. Now, one thing you should know is that God expects this from you as the father. The day you decide to do what produces children, that day you bring upon yourself the responsibility of exercising authority over children. And you know, children don't just come into this world, they are brought in by mummies and daddies. I remember watching a certain American-based documentary, and somebody was suing his parents for bringing him into this world. I said, what? I mean, it happens only in America. He went to court and said, I did not ask them to give birth to me. They did not ask for my permission to bring me into this world. So I am their full responsibility. I won't do anything. They have to feed me. They have to clothe me. I'm not leaving their home. And I think at that time he was about 40 years and was in the house, not doing anything, eating, smoking, drinking. And when the father became a bit harsh on him, he went to court and said the court should restrain the parents from forcing him to work because he did not ask them to give birth to him, and they did not seek his permission when they were bringing him into this world. You know, funny as it is, I don't, of course, you know, I wouldn't support that. But you see, there is some little, just a little, truth in that. You brought that child into this world, and you have that responsibility. Of course, that responsibility ceases when the child becomes an adult, and constitutionally, many nations peg the adulthood at 18. And whatever the child becomes after that depends on what you put into that child in the pre-18 years. In some countries, it is 21, and beyond that, the child is an adult and can be on his or her own. But even then, as a father, you still have responsibility. But, you know, we're still talking about the younger ages and how you prepare them for the future. Let's forget about that gentleman who went to court. I mean, he has his own problems, you know. Well, which also means that the father and mother didn't do a good job preparing him for adulthood, and so he's become a pain in their neck. But you see, the Bible clearly tells fathers in Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 4, the Bible says, and you fathers, this is Ephesians chapter 6 verse 4, and you fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, but bring them up in the training and admonition of the Lord. Bring them up in the training and admonition of the Lord. So, fathers cannot leave this task to any other person. We cannot leave this task to the teachers in our schools. We cannot leave this task to the pastors in church. We cannot leave this task to our neighbors and our friends and so on. It is that full responsibility of the father. Now, presiding over. Let's look at a biblical example, and then I will read from Genesis chapter 18. Genesis chapter 18, and let's consider Abraham. Now, Abraham had, of course, obeyed the call of God and had moved from his country and gone, settled up north, and was still journeying to Canaan. He hadn't gotten there yet, but on the way, he had a little the workers of Lot and the workers of Abraham had a little scuffle. Both were prospering. Lot was prospering on the account of Abraham, and yet when his workers, it was Abraham who came in and said, "Listen, we are all blessed, and so let there be no strife between us. I will give you the first option. Choose wherever you want to stay, and I will take whatever remains, or wherever you don't want to stay." And so we are told that Lot chose, of course, by sight, he chose the greener plains. And the plains he chose finally led him to a place called Sodom and Gomorrah, within that vicinity. It was a prosperous green land, beautiful vegetation, good for farming and good for animal husbandry. And Lot chose that. Abraham decided to choose the other side, which was a bit dry, and but God still prospered him. Now, while Abraham lived there, he had some strange guests, and these strange guests said something to him. And I want us to read from Genesis chapter 18. Genesis chapter 18. These were people who came, and then Abraham, as usual, received them. Maybe let me just start from verse 1 of chapter 18, Genesis. Then the Lord appeared to him by the terebinth trees of Mamre, and as he was sitting in the tent door in the heat of the day. So he lifted his eyes and looked, and behold, 3 men were standing by him. And when he saw them, he ran from the tent door to meet them and bowed himself to them and said, "My Lord, If I have found favor in your sight, do not pass on by your servant. Please let a little water be brought to wash your feet and rest yourselves under the tree, and I will bring you a morsel of bread, and that you may refresh your hearts. After that, you may pass on, inasmuch as you have come to your servant. Now, it is obvious that Abraham perceived that those were not mere human beings. He perceived somehow that they were angelic or heavenly beings or celestial beings. And so Abraham quickly made obeisance and received them nicely. Then after he had fed them and everything, one of the men prophesied that Sarah would have a son. In fact, Sarah loved, and on and on and on. But when everything was said and done, let's read from verse 16. Then the men rose from there and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to send them on the way. And the Lord said, that is one of the men who obviously was the angel of the Lord, and theologically we would say that it was the pre-incarnate appearance of Jesus, and that is the angel of the Lord. But for now, he said in verse 17, shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? Shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? We'll read on. But you see, God was on a mission. The evil of Sodom and Gomorrah had come to him, and he was about to destroy that city. So the angels that came to Abraham were on that mission to go and destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Abraham didn't know this. But when he was seeing the angels off, the Lord or the leader of the team turned and said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am doing? And it is obvious that that was not because of the hospitality Abraham had shown. In fact, there was more beyond that hospitality. The Lord saw beyond the generosity of Abraham, the humility of Abraham, and his hospitality. And he said, there is something in Abraham. So should I hide what I'm going to do? I mean, the Lord had just developed a relationship with Abraham, and so he told him his mission, which was top secret. But in verse 18, we are told why he didn't want to hide anything from Abraham. We are told in verse 18 what Abraham had achieved, or why Abraham had found such great favor before God, or why would God share his secret with Abraham? Notice this. Verse 18 says, since Abraham shall surely become a great nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. Now verse 19 says, for I have known him, in order that he may command his children and his household after him, that they keep the way of the Lord to do righteousness and justice, that the Lord may bring to Abraham what he has spoken to him. So, the reason God disclosed his secret to Abraham was that he knew, of course, that Abraham was soon to become a great nation, a mighty nation, and all the earth shall be blessed because of him. But more specifically, God said, for I have known him. At that time, Abraham did not even have a son, not one son. But God still said, I have known Abraham in order that he may command his children and his household after him. So even before Abraham had a son, God knew that Abraham would command his household and his children after him. Of course, you could tell from how he received the angels, his humility, his simplicity, his generosity, his caring nature, and his the fact that he was able to receive the angels and feed them. Said, no, this man, when he becomes a father, he will be able to command his children after him and his household after him. And so I will not keep any secret from him. I mean, this was a beautiful, beautiful commendation from the Lord. And he says, I've known him in order that he may command his children and his household after him. For what? That they keep the way of the Lord to do righteousness and justice. So God knew that if Abraham became a father, or when Abraham became a father, this is what he would do. He would command his household and lead them to keep the way of the Lord and to do righteousness and to do justice. God had full faith, full confidence in the fatherhood of Abraham. It was on that note that God said, listen, if somebody is a good father, or if I can trust somebody to be a good father who will command his household to keep my ways, to do righteousness, to do justice, then I don't need to hide any secret from him. Is a father getting the message that if we can command our household, if we can lead our household, our children, to keep the way of the Lord, if we can lead our children to do righteousness, if we can lead our children to do justice, then we will be friends of God, and God will not keep his secret from us. You see, and this happened even before Abraham had a child. God was confident in him that Abraham would be a good domestic president. He would command his family. And that is the reason God did not or could not keep his intentions from Abraham. And the intentions were to go and destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. Of course, we know what happened afterwards when Abraham now had to intercede, because he remembered that Lot was in that region, and so he started pleading, God, if you found 50 righteous people there, would you still destroy? God said, no. How about, God said, no, I wouldn't. But then we can't even get the 50. But Abraham said, how about 40? It came down to about 10, and still God could not find even 10 righteous, and so he went ahead and destroyed. But of course, God saved Lot, that is Abraham's nephew. So, the first duty of a domestic president, and I'm calling fathers domestic president. Your first duty is to command the family. Command the family. Presiding over a family implies that the father knows where he is going, and he will carry the children with him. If the father is in touch with God and understands his own purpose in life, it becomes easy for him to command his children to follow suit. Commanding your children does not make you a military ruler in the house. Of course, when we hear the word command, it brings you some form of military situation. But the commanding here does not even suggest that you are a boss throwing your weight about. It does not connote a dictator terrorizing and whipping the family into submission or into docility. Commanding does not mean that you are a terror in the house. I call that the Dadaribo syndrome. We have situations where the moment the children hear that daddy is coming, they all fall in line. They start behaving well, and those who will start shaking, will start shaking. Those who will cry within will start, because the terror is in the house. Yes, the commander in chief. No. That is not the type of commander you are in the home. You don't terrorize people, rather, with your position as the presiding person in the home. This instruction or this activity is like positively introducing the family to your values and your virtues. Your personal lifestyle should become the example for the children to take after. In fact, you may not even have to command with words. You can command your family with your lifestyle. You can only command when you yourself are under a command. I remember the story of the centurion who had a sick servant and wanted Jesus to heal the servant. And Jesus said, okay, let's go. I'm coming to your house, and then I'll heal your servant. Then the man said, sir, you don't have to come to my home, but speak the word, and your servant will be healed. I believe it. Why do I believe it? Because I believe in the power of command, and in this sense, your word. And the reason the man said that was, he said in Matthew chapter 8 verse 9, Matthew chapter 8 and verse 9, said, for I am also a man under authority, having soldiers under me. And he said, I said to one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes, and to my servant, do this, and he does it. So this soldier, of course, believed in the power of command. And it's like, look, if I can command anyone under me to do anything, in the same way, Jesus, you control, he was expressing deep faith in Jesus. You control the universe. You control the elements. You control every situation. And so when you command, it will happen. When you say go, whatever you are commanding will go. The man said, look, I know this because I am a man under authority. I receive commands and I obey. And people under me also receive command and they obey. Jesus was surprised. He said, wow, I have not seen this great faith, And he said, oh, okay, as you have believed, so be it. And then that very hour, the servant was healed. That same principle works with a father who wants to be in charge. If you want to be able to command, then stay under authority. The soldier gave himself as an example. He said, because I am under authority, because I receive command and I obey, I find myself in a position to command others and they obey. And this is a brilliant example. If you want to be able to command your home, then you yourself must stay under a command. You must stay under the greatest authority, and which is the authority of God. Now, there's something else in 1 Corinthians chapter 10. 1 Corinthians chapter 10. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, and let's look at verse 4. Okay, let's jump to verse 6. Am I in the right? Oh, it happens to preachers all the time. It is Second Corinthians. Corinthians, chapter 10. And you see, if we even start reading from verse 3, that is Second Corinthians, not first. Second Corinthians, chapter 10. He starts in verse 3. He says, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds, casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. Now, Paul was teaching the church, telling them that, listen, we have a warfare, but it is not according to the flesh. So we are not using AK-47, we are not using the bazookas, we are not using the missiles and the ballistic missiles and the things that fly around. But it says our weapon is mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds. What we carry is more than dynamite, and spiritually we can pull down strongholds. We can cast down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and bring every thought into captivity. That's how powerful we are, and bring everything to the obedience of Christ. However, there is a caveat, and he says, and being able to punish all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. So you can do this, bring everything under subjection, everything under the obedience of Christ through your spiritual weapon and so on. And it only works when your own obedience is complete. So when you are obedient, then you can bring other things under obedience. And we are talking of weapons that are not made by hands. Recently we're learning that Ukraine has run out of some protective weapons, and so it's calling on America to supply. And according to sources, America is the only nation that produces that type of protection against the type of powerful drones that Russia is sending. Other nations are also producing some, but they are not as powerful as the ones America produces. And so initially the American president decided, oh, okay, we will supply you. But later he changed his mind and said, well, we can even empower you, to produce it yourself and help you produce it. It went well for the Ukrainians, but now, they are in between. You see, we are not talking about such weapons. We are talking about spiritual weapons that will bring your enemies down, that will bring things to the subjection of Christ. And what is that? It is your obedience. So if you are under the obedience of Christ, if your obedience is complete under Christ, then you can bring the obedience of your children under Christ as well. That's all I'm trying to say. That if you are subject to Christ, you allow Christ to preside over you, then you can preside over your family. So the ability to command comes in only when you also submit yourself to command. We will take a short break here, and when we come in, we will continue. This is Fathers and Family on Z 101.9 FM, and my name is Pastor Gate. Enjoy that 1 minute or 2 minutes break, and then we will be back. Stay tuned.
Well, young gold in the storms of life, when the clouds unfold their wings of strife, when the strong tides lift and the cable
and deep in the Savior's love. That's a beautiful hymn there. Thank you, Ankratu, for this. And welcome back to Z 101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio. And the program is Fathers and Family. My name is Pastor Gatti. If you want to call into this program, you can use the number 0303 956641. That is 0303 956641. And if you also want to connect with us via WhatsApp, the WhatsApp line is 0544 321019. 0544 321019. Okay. So we just left on the note that the father, when the father submits to God, his children find it easy to submit to him, because you can command when your own obedience is complete. The father, in this context, is the first authority, and believe you me, you are the first authority that children must relate to. And so if your child can obey his teacher, he must obey the father first. So if the child does not obey the father at home, trust me, he cannot obey the teacher. So when you find rebellious children in school, first let's find out what happens at home. Simple. If you find children insulting leaders, first of all, let's find out what happens at home. Because a child who obeys the father's authority finds it easier to obey his civic leaders, and finds it easier even to obey the laws of the land. And look, without any apology, I want to strongly link the behavior of adults to how they related to their fathers. And that's the essence. Because if they have, you have a commanding father, a father who will instruct the children and ensure that they obey. Of course, a father whose obedience is complete. A father who stays under the obedience of Christ. A father who himself obeys the laws of the land. A father who himself obeys his civic leaders will also have children who will obey him, who will obey teachers, who will obey civic leaders, who will obey the laws of the land. So a child who submits to authority of the father will most likely accept the rule, even the rule of God over his life, and by implication accept the rule of his civic leaders. Now, you don't have to be, of course, we live in a very political environment, but you don't have to be a member of a ruling party to be obedient to the government or to the laws of the land. Your obedience to the laws of the land, or your obedience to your civic leaders has nothing to do with the party you belong to. Party A, Party B, Party Z, that's something else. But your leaders, the laws of the land have nothing to do with your party. And so, I mean, look, you look at even the way people drive, that has nothing to do with a political party. You know, you are entering a roundabout. There is somebody already in the roundabout, and you still want to, as it is, race with that person and, enter in by force. This has nothing to do with political party. It has everything to do with your ability to obey the laws of the land, to obey the rules of driving. And if you are unable to do that, then it shows that you had problem obeying your own parents. Your father failed somewhere in instilling that obedience in you, so you grow up thinking that you can disobey anybody, you can disobey any situation. Yes, it's a societal menace. And that is why I strongly believe that if we have strong homes, we will have strong societies and we will have a strong nation. It all begins at home. If your children see you as the domestic president and they obey you and respect you and you are in charge, you teach them obedience, you teach them virtues, you teach them values, you teach them how to be submissive to authority, then it doesn't matter which party they belong to, they will still be obedient to the laws of the land. So when children grow to disrespect and disregard law and authority, I want to argue that their father has to be blamed. It could be that the father was even non-functional, just existing around, or it could be that there was no father in the house. Where we have absentee fathers, or where we have non-functional fathers, the children grow in disarray. We looked at this when we read statistics on the children, the percentage of children in correctional institutions, the children that are taking drugs, the children that fall out of school, and so on. And you can trace these things to dysfunctional fatherhood or absentee fatherhood. But we can even extend it further, that if the father himself does not instill the obedience in the children grow up to disrespect and disregard law and authority. Can I say this? And I will say it without apology. And this is no politics. I am not a politician and I don't want to be one. But if somebody sits behind a console or puts a video on himself and he goes all out insulting a leader or insulting an elderly person, you can be sure that the father is not in charge, or the father is not around, or the father is dysfunctional. You blame it on weak fatherhood. So instead of well, now it's turning a bit political, but permit me, instead of arresting them, instead of putting them in jail, let's look for their fathers. Because, you see, they are a reflection of what the fathers failed to do. And that is why this program seeks to teach and correct things. Fathers, let's pick up our responsibility and do it well. I mean, God gave you that child as a raw material. Now the child is grown and is insulting every adult. Who is to blame? If you handled that infant, that little bundle of joy in your hands, and you are the one who raised it, who commanded that child, and now that child is big and has a voice, has a language, and he's all over insulting everybody, using unprintable words, then you didn't do a good job. You didn't do a good job. You were not a good domestic president, and so that child who grew up under you now goes on to take the world head on. I mean, we don't have to agree with everything our leaders do and say. But what gives us the right to use such unprintable words against them? You are only able to do that when you have not learned obedience from, from a father. And listen, if you are a father, you demand obedience, you demand honesty from your child, but the child finds you lying, you have failed. You know, by your action, you are teaching him a beautiful lesson on hypocrisy. Do what I say and not what I do. That's lesson 1 in hypocrisy. And fathers reflect that. If we demand respect, but we are constantly insulting others, what are we teaching them? And I've said it here, that listen, the children are watching. They hear what you say about your president. They hear what you say about your pastor. They hear what you say about adults. And when they hear you say and do those things, they see that as a license to do same. You insult, you disrespect, and then you are commanding your household to respect and to be civil in their language. That is hypocrisy. If you tell your children to pray, and you yourself never pray, that is a lesson that prayer is a mere religious language. I remember a beautiful song that this country gospel musician Jim Reeves sang. He narrated a story of how a young boy came to the dad and said, "Dad, you've been kind to me. You've done everything for me. You brought me a car. You brought me a kite. You even taught me how to fly the kite. You did everything for me. But Father, you see, I want to thank God for you. I want to thank God for giving me a good father, but I don't know how to. And it's all because, Daddy, you've done all this, but you have not taught me how to pray." And In fact, according to that story, the daddy now bows his head in shame and turns away from the side, the son in tears, because he realized that he had failed in teaching the child how to pray. And the chorus is, Daddy, my daddy, teach me how to pray. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful song, you know. But how can we preside over children when we do not teach them our values and our virtues? So, to effectively influence our children to be obedient to authority, fathers must show the way. And not, like I said, children learn more from what their fathers do than from what they say. So, fathers, let's preside through our personal example. For Paul, writing to the Philippians, said, those things which you have both learned and received and heard and seen in me, do. That's Philippians 4:9. The things you have learned and received and heard and seen me do, those are the things you should do. Can you say that to your children? Oh, then you are a good domestic president, because you are giving yourself to your children not only as a model, but as the syllabus for good behavior. When fathers say one thing and do another, they place themselves in a position to lose their children's obedience. Your children are talking back to you, right? Don't blame them. How did it begin? You want your children to respect you, but you are disrespecting their mother. And I have said it and over again, that one of the greatest gifts you can give to your children is to love and respect their mother. No matter what, that is the woman who gave birth to them, and that is the woman they regard as their mother. And so how can you disrespect that woman right before them and expect the children to learn respect? I'm not saying carry your wife at your back. If you can, that is fine. But that is not something I'm asking you to do. I'm only asking you to respect her. It doesn't mean you cannot argue. It doesn't mean you cannot even quarrel. Oh, when you have to disagree, go ahead and disagree. But what do the children see? Do they see a disrespectful father? Do they see a wife beater? And you doing this to their mother, and you are telling them to respect and to be obedient? Forget it. You will get it back. And they will send that thing even into the society. So it's quite ridiculous when a father tells his children to be what he himself is not, or when he expects the children to go in a direction that he himself is not going. Abraham was a good role model to all around him, to his nephew, to his servants. I mean, here he was, his own nephew, whom he had raised and helped to prosper, is now fighting over land with him And Abraham takes the initiative and says, listen, son, don't let us argue. Don't let us fight over this. What, Abraham? This is somebody you invited to come along when you were supposed to live alone anyway. This is somebody you helped prosper. And now he has prospered and is now rubbing shoulders with you. You won't curse him. You won't throw him out. But you are saying, please, let's not quarrel. Look, take whatever land you want to take. Do whatever you want. Just be comfortable. I have the promise, but hey, I give you the chance. Choose. And Lot lifted his eyes and chose the green. And Abraham said, well chosen. Take it. I will take the other one. What a man. I mean, when such a man teaches you obedience, teaches you tolerance, teaches you faith, he is an epitome of these things. So, everyone around, I mean, he went building altars, which tells you he was a praying man. No wonder Isaac built altars, Jacob built altars. An exemplary father. And God said, oh, I have confidence in this man, that he will do exactly that. Again, to preside over the house. The second thing, we are dealing just two stuff. The first is to command your family, and the second thing is to control the family. Be in charge and be seen to be in charge, especially in ensuring that your children stay in line. A father, let the children stay in line. You know, last week I mentioned something. I said mothers are wonderful. Mothers are wonderful. They have the ability to control the children, but sometimes, they are also very emotional. There is something naturally in mothers. I'm not too sure the exact English word, whether you want to call it compassion, but the Fantis call it abadai. Mothers have it. And so even when they want to discipline the children, it's a different thing. Of course, they can get emotional and overhit. But that is part of the compassion of a mother. Their tender love does not leave the children. And so when you leave the children with the mothers alone, they cannot balance their love for their children, and so they go one way. I have somebody in the studio who is laughing because she knows she's a perfect example of a compassionate mother. Hey, and that's the mother of my children, my mother-in-law's daughter. She's right here, and that's my wife. And she's been my companion for over 42 years, and so I know her, Papa. I know her, Papa. That is what he does today. But you see, that is why you are the father. Create the balance at home. You should help create a home as a father where order rather than confusion, where discipline rather than disorder, where responsibility rather than irresponsibility prevails. By nature, fathers are physically stronger, naturally, in most cases. Not in all cases, we we have wives who beat their husbands, but in most cases, husbands are physically stronger than wives, or fathers are physically stronger than mothers, and their mere physique, their deep voice, should be able to put some fear and discipline in the growing children. So stop it, and I know one man who will say, stop it before I tell you to stop it, which means if you don't stop, he will tell you to stop. And telling to stop, that's an African, and so you will receive some whooping, but a father should be in control. It does not suggest that you use brute force to control children, but at least it is assuring to know that there is a stronger person who will not be too emotional about things in charge. So fathers, we have an advantage here, but the real effectiveness of your control should be in your approach. Your approach should be predictable. Your approach should be consistent. We'll talk about this, especially when we look at discipline, and to flow with our P's: planning, providing, presiding. There is a P that says punish. And when we get to punishing the children, we will talk about discipline. And you will know that your discipline should should not necessarily be punitive, but it should be corrective. But the important thing is that your reaction to a situation should be predictable and consistent. Your children should be able to know that this is how daddy will react. This is how daddy would want us to behave. And the moment you achieve that, you have scored. The fear of you will be on them because you are in charge. And because of your consistency, the children know that daddy doesn't like this. Daddy doesn't want us to behave this way. And so they will stay in line. If you are able to inculcate this in the growing minds, the feeble minds, if these feeble minds get to know that these are values that daddy stands for, these are virtues that daddy preaches to us, and consistently you let them know, no child will leave your home to go and insult another elderly man. I remember one day I had to, for some reason, I had a little challenge with the vehicle, so I took a taxi. This is years ago. And I sat in this taxi beside the driver, and we were just talking, and I do that a lot. I saw him as a young man, so the father in me started talking to him about life. Then all of a sudden, he wanted to enter a certain lane, but there was another vehicle that refused to let him enter. And so he couldn't enter, but he drove past. And then when he got to that, he turned and insulted the driver. And guess what? The man who was driving was an elderly man, gray-haired. So I turned, looked at the driver, and I said, "Do you know what you just did?" But I was showing the trafficator, and I said, "No, that's not what I'm talking about. But what you've just done is that you have shortened your lifespan." Then he got alarmed. I said, "Yes." I said, "Do you know the man?" He said, "No." "But you saw him?" He said, "Yes." "Could that man be your father?" He said, "Yes." "Could even be his grandfather." But I said, "You just insulted him." And honoring your father, your mother, leads to your days on earth being long. And so dishonoring them also means shortening your own life. He became sorry because I had started talking to him. And so when I added this, he became sorry and sober and said, so what do I do? I said, well, he's gone. There's nothing you can do. When you get home, kneel by your bedside and ask God for forgiveness. And God will be merciful to you. And learn this lesson: never insult an adult. I don't think he will do that again, because he learned that lesson. You know, and he was sober and quiet for the rest of the trip. Children can learn if only we teach them. He was not my child, but for the few minutes that we drove together, I taught him something. And because I taught him sincerely, he picked it up and he said he would do just that. So, be in charge. Being soft and yielding with children may be an easier option, but hey, it will destroy them in the long run. Be firm. Be consistent. When it is wrong, let the children know it is wrong. One other thing you should do as a father is that you should establish reasonable family expectations. Reasonable family expectations. Establish how children should relate to one another. Don't allow them to be insulting one another. Don't allow them to use a language against one another. I spent some time with my daughter and son-in-law and the grandchildren, and it's so beautiful. I mean, these angels at home, sometimes they get angry with each other. And I remember one time one got angry and used a certain word, said, "You are naughty." The father jumped in immediately and said, "Don't ever use that word for your sister." I watched that in admiration. And since then, I mean, it stopped. He was firm. And he said, he jumped in immediately and said, "Don't do that." You're talking about of 4 years and 2-year-old. You know, don't use that word again to your little sister. And the firmness, you know, and his instant intervention changed the equation. Now, be firm, correct it, and let the child grow with that. Be fair, be firm, be focused as a father, and don't be flippant when you want to be in charge. Let your yea be yea and your nay be nay as a father. Maybe one last thing. As a father who wants to preside over your children, number one, make sure you command them, make sure you control them, number two, and make sure you convene them as a family. Bring them together. Bring the family together. You should be a builder, not a breaker. You should always focus on building unity in the home. Remember, you have 3 portfolios or 3 personalities. You are a man, you are a husband, you are a father. As a man, you may have your personal challenges. Don't let that reflect on the children. As a husband, you may have problems with your wife. And this it's not an abnormal situation. You may disagree, you may find some challenge. I mean, there could even be incompatibility, but you are still married and you have children, and so do not let your challenges as a husband also reflect on your children. Your children have no business in your marriage. You relate to them only as a father, not as a husband. You relate to them as a father. They relate to you as your children. And so when you have a problem with yourself, with your work, or with your wife, as a man or as a husband, that should have nothing to do with your children. You relate to your children as a father and let them see that, so that you can become a unifier. Create opportunities for conversation. Talk with them. Create opportunities for family worship, praying together. Create opportunities for family meals and head it. Sit around the table. Let's say grace over the meal. I mean, look, 2-year-olds, as long as they can talk, can pray and say, thank you, dear Lord, for this food, and eat. I'm seeing it, and it can be done. Bring the children together, bring the family together, have celebrations. If you have to correct things, correct them, have recreations, have fun. Lead the children in fun. We will talk about playing with your children. So ahead of us, we have punishing the children, praying with the children, playing with the children, and so on. We will deal with all these things. But as the controller of the house, as the president of the house, you should be able to stand out and say with Joshua, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. We will serve the Lord. Joshua obviously did not seek permission from the wife to make that statement. The language, I and my house, suggests that man was the president of the house. He understood that his personal commitment to God had implications on the whole family. And so he says, I and my house, we shall serve the Lord. We will do that which is right, and we will serve the Lord. As long as I am in charge, as long as I preside over this family, I command the family, I control the family, I convene the family, bring the family before God, and lead the way. And then, of course, you can also add, correct the family. So you need to make responsible decisions as a father, because you are the domestic president. You preside over your family. Well, God willing, next week we'll pick another topic, and then we will lead you. I am the father of this program, and so I will lead you. I will lead you to learn. And beloved, I want to sign off here. This is Fathers and Family on Z101.9 FM, your lifestyle, your leisure, and business radio. And this program is brought to you by Frontier Fathers. If you want to call, contact, share, let me give you an offline number, and you can call so that we talk. The number to call is 0553 743 753 0553 743 753. You can call me after the program and let's have a conversation. Oh, last week, somebody called me. It was so beautiful. In fact, I had to pack and hold the conversation. It was so beautiful how this program is helping him. Incidentally, I missed out on the name. And so today, if you are listening, my brother, just call me again so I can record the name and acknowledge you. But until next week when I come your way again, I pray that the Lord will bless you and keep you. The Lord will cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And the Lord will lift up his countenance upon you and give you his peace. Barikiwe. Be blessed.
My life was in his hand.